again, and I'm back with something nice. For this review, I need to thank Dan Walder at the Vapers Den, and yes, that is the same Dan that sadistically sent me the bacon ice. So I think he wet himself watching the video. Good for you, mate. But he said that he enjoyed it so much that he wanted to send me something that I really would appreciate, and he wasn't kidding. So this is the WarLion or WarLion, one of the two, Aztec Mod. Now this one, there's only 1,000 that have been made so far, and the guy that's made them has decided, well, basically he's putting himself out there, wanted to make the best mod, the one that he was most happy with, and he was definitely doing it for the community. I'll tell you the price, I'll tell you a little bit more detail about it at the end of the video, but for now let's get into the table and have a look. Right, so here we go. First thing that you'll notice, and I'm hoping that the camera's doing it justice, is this really cool engraving on the front that's almost futuristic. It's kind of like a guy in a space helmet of some description. For me, aesthetically, that's absolutely bang on the money. The other thing as well is it's almost reminiscent of the JM22 with the way that it's got these grooves cut into the main tube as well. The JM22 has got 3, this one has got 4, as you can see there. Brass locking ring, and it's a nice big thick chunk of brass as well. And if I turn, you can't hear a thing. That thread action is so smooth, it's really nice. The bottom button, let me just make sure I'm getting this the right way around. There we go. So it's a dragon, and it's almost got a tattoo style to it, carrying a snake there. And again, stylistically for me, that's bang on the money. And in terms of the quality of the machining as well, it's a really nice deep engrave. You can't see that wearing out very quickly or in any time at all. It's beautiful. The top cap here, you've got some nice deep grooves for your airflow, and in the centre there, that pin is actually gold plated. It's gold plated brass, so conductivity wise it's up there. It's not as good as silver, as I've said in previous videos, for conductivity, but it's vastly better than silver in the fact that it requires practically no maintenance. It doesn't tarnish, it doesn't oxidize, so you know, the quality of the conductivity doesn't diminish as it gets closer and closer to needing a clean. It is a telescopic, so this is it in 18350 mode. And again, the thread action you can hear there is really good. So that's one way that you can run it. So basically you put your ATI on the top there. Let me just grab one. It's an RSST. Now I will put the sizes and dimensions up on the screen, but I think that this main body here is 25mm at the widest. This part here, the inner tube if you like, is actually 22mm. So when you've got a 22mm device on there, again aesthetically I think that works really quite well. Let's take that off again. So let's put in a few batteries just to give you an idea of what it looks like at the different sizes. This here is an 18500. There we go. So that's that 18500 size. And here's an 18650. Come on. Sorry, I'm being very cack-handed here. And there we go, that's all screwed down. Now, as you can see, you've got sort of just a small part of the venting hole sticking out there. So my guess is there isn't quite enough room to run an 18650 and a kick in this thing. Personally, that's not something that would bother me, but it might bother some of you guys out there. So yeah, like I said, there's a couple of vent holes here, either side of the thinner tube. So the venting, depending on what size battery you're running, sits inside the threading. Now I'm sure that's not really too much of a problem. I can't imagine it being done like that if it wasn't going to be safe. But the one thing that I would say is that the threading on here is so tight. I mean, there you go, no battery in, and although you can hear a little bit of clicking, there's hardly any lateral movement at all. It's solid. It's really well done. The other thing as well, stylistically, you can reverse this. In fact, whilst I've got it apart, I'll show you. You've got a big thick chunk of Delrin here with another gold-plated connector in there. This is a magnetic switch. Because of that being gold-plated, I'm not going to go to the effort of taking it apart to show you the magnetic system. But the button it works so well. You know, even if you're tapping it right at the side, it still fires every single time. It hasn't missed a beat in the 5 or 6 days that I've been testing it. The other thing I'll say whilst I've got it apart is that this 510 connector sits in a piece of Delrin. It's Delrin insulated. Now I've noticed on the Aztec Facebook page that some people are running devices with gaps in the top. Now I can understand why, because this is in there really tight. My guess is that it's going to free up a bit over time, and personally I'd rather it was a little bit too tight to start with than find 6 months down the road it's just flopping about all over the place. So basically, if you've got one of these, in order to get it to sit flush, what I've been doing is just putting a piece of tissue over the top and using the fat end of a mortise key just to make sure that I'm completely protecting the plating. But if I just give that a little bit of gentle pressure, ooh, you can see that that's popped the connector out quite far. So you can flush mount pretty much anything to this. And what I've been doing whilst I've had it is, let me just find a Atty again. Don't know where I put the RSST. Here we go. I'm going to be reviewing this very shortly. In fact, this afternoon. So what I've been doing is putting the Atty on, again using a piece of tissue, and just pushing down, and I just heard that click, so it has now got a good contact. Anyway, the reason why I started doing all of this was to show you that it's completely reversible. So I'm going to put the button into the bottom section here. Turn this tube around. I'll put an 18650 and save the screwing. Now personally, I think that this way round, I much prefer it. I think that looks really cool. So there we go. That's a bit of a walk round it. I will point out, now I'm sure that WarLion or WarLion will probably resolve this for you, Dan. But I noticed that the threading, I don't know whether the camera's picking it up. There you go. For some reason, that started lifting away slightly. I have no idea why. I've treated this with complete kid gloves, but there's obviously some sort of manufacture defect going on there. The other thing as well that I've noticed is that there's a bit of burring inside the threading of this main tube. I think that in using it's sorted itself out. In fact, I think it was more a problem when I had it the other way around. If I put this back in here, buttery smooth, and as soon as it hits this point, you can see it's not quite fully closed, but I'm having to give it a good twist, and it does grind slightly to get that all the way in. So Dan, you might want to have a little bit of a word with the manufacturer there. So that's the only things that I can really criticise about this, and I'm sure that they will be put right. But overall, aesthetically, it's a really beautiful mod. It's really well machined. I like the way that it's still got this brushed look. I mean, you can see that it's really quite shiny, but you can still see all of the marks there, which I imagine are from the machining. You know, even things like this edge here, I don't know how good this camera is going to pick it up, but it's got a really nice subtle little chamfer in there. Every detail is beautiful, really well considered, really well manufactured, and it performs really well, as I'll now show you. As you might have gathered from what I was saying on the table, Dan actually sent me this mod before he'd even had a chance to use it himself. He's not even taken a single vape off it, and he pretty much sent it on as soon as he got it. So huge thanks, Dan. I can't tell you how much I've enjoyed having this in my possession. And again, I'll just hold it up. I've left it this way round. I just think that stylistically, it's gorgeous. I love the engraving. I love the good heavy weight. Love the quality in the materials. I will put up some more specs. Right, let's take a vape. This is a pretty fresh 18650. It only came off the charger about half an hour ago, and on the top of it I've got an iGo W that's running about 0.5 ohms at the moment. Right. Sorry, I need to give this a top up. It's starting to dry out slightly. As you can tell from the clouds that it's generating, the performance of this thing is absolutely phenomenal. I don't actually have a tankometer, but I have got just a standard voltmeter, multi-tool, multi-voltmeter. And when I put that on the top, admittedly, it's not going to be as good as using a tankometer, because you're going to drop some resistance through the ATI as well. But for me, at least, it was registering 0.3, and that was through the atomizer. This is a dual coil, so it's not an exact science, but in comparison to my draw tube, for example, which, as I've said before, I've removed down to brass on the button and the top contact, as well as using no locks, and that was registering using the same method, 0.7. Now I know that's far off compared to what the reality of it actually is, but this thing just hits beautifully. And it just hasn't missed a beat. You know, I mean, this button, if I just touch, you can hear, oh, getting my left and right's mixed up again. You know, right on the edge of the button, touching it, and it just works. I don't know what else to say. It's a fantastic mod. Like I said, there were three lists being run. One was for an initial run of 100, then there was another batch of 400. The last batch that's been run is for 500. That's 1,000 mods total. And like I said, WarLion, or WarLion, isn't making a penny off this. He's sold them on at cost price. Now I doubt that's something that he's going to continue to do, if he's actually going to open up another list and sell any more of these at all. I sincerely hope he does, because I want one. I so want one. High-end mod-wise, I've tried this and I've tried the Poldiac. The Poldiac, as I think I said on that video, the contacts had started to go a little bit pinkish in colour, which I think meant that they were probably due for a bit of a clean. Now I did clean them. I didn't go for a full-on clean because it's only a plating and I didn't want to do anything that was going to take too much of that plating off. But the output of the Poldiac, in the condition that the contacts were when I received it, this hits every bit as hard. It hits really hard, really nice, and I think I've said all I can say now. Thank you ever so much, Dan. Really enjoyed having this, mate, and it will be winging its way back to you very soon. That's it from me. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you again next time. Cheers, bye-bye now.